In this video, we will be solving a few MCQs which are commonly asked in computer application semester examinations. So let's look at the first one. Let's look at this MCQ first. Now, we have been given a macro, right? This line, this entire line represents a macro. Represents a macro, right? Okay. So what will happen is, wherever you will have this n, wherever in the program we'll see an n, we will substitute 2 plus 3. So that's pretty straightforward. Now let's see the code. So we are starting with main. Now we have a variable of type int, which is a. Now a is equal to n into n. Now what will happen because of this statement? Because of this statement, in place of n, see, in place of n, what will be substituted? 2 plus 3. So I have two n's here. So I'll substitute 2 plus 3 twice. So I'll get 2 plus 3 in place of the first n, and I'll get another 2 plus 3 because of the second n, right? So there's 2 plus 3 into 2 plus 3. Now, how would you evaluate this? See, we know that between addition and multiplication, multiplication has the higher precedence. That means first we'll perform 3 into 2. Okay, so 3 into 2. First we'll do this part because star has higher precedence than plus. So 3 into 2 will give me 6. Right? Now we have 2 plus 6 plus 3. So what is 2 plus 6 plus 3? 2 plus 6 plus 3 comes out to be 11. Right? Now let's see the options. Now out of these 4 options, we can see that none of the 3 options given here match with 11. So the correct answer is none of the above. Now let's look at the next one. We have been given a statement here, strcmp. What is strcmp? strcmp stands for string comparison. See, strcmp stands for string comparison. So if you want to compare two strings for equality, or to check which string would come before in alphabetical order, then you would use strcmp. Now here we have been given two strings. So we have been given the first string as ABC and the second string also as ABC. But these two strings are different. Why are these two strings are different? Why? Because in this string we can see that the A is in lowercase and here the A is in uppercase. So these two, since C programming is case sensitive, What do you mean by case sensitive? Uppercase and lowercase letters are different. That means small a is different from capital A. So since C programming is case sensitive, what we have is, we have these two strings to be different. Now what will strcmp do? strcmp will compare each character at a time. That means it will compare position by position. See, this is my position 0, this is my position 1, this is my position 2. Similarly, this is position 0, position 1 and position 2. Now what will it do is, it will compare the corresponding positions. So it will compare this small a present at position 0 and it will compare this capital A present at position 0. Whenever it finds a non-zero value, the moment it finds a non-zero value after the comparison, it will stop the comparison and report that non-zero value. Now, how will the comparison be performed? We know that every character constant has an associated ASCII value. So how will it be compared? The ASCII value of small a, which is how much? 97, will be compared with the ASCII value of capital A, which is 65. So what is 97 minus 65? 97 minus 65 comes out to be 32, which is a non-zero value. Since it's a non-zero value, the strcmp will stop the comparison and report this non-zero value. It will return this non-zero value. So where will this non-zero value be returned? This non-zero value will be returned and stored in this variable k. So this variable k will get a value of 32. That means what will be printed? You will get the value of k, which happens to be 32. So it does not match with any of the 3 options. That means the correct option is none of the above. Okay, now let's move on to another one, another MCQ. Okay, Now let's look at this. Let's look at the third one. See, in the third MCQ, what we have is, we have two character arrays, right? We know that strings in C are represented using character arrays. Here I have a character array S1 with the string hello, and we have another character array S2 with exactly the same string as S1. Okay, now look at this statement. If S1 equal to S2, remember always the name of an array, here the name of the array is S1. The name of the array always represents the first address of the array, always represents the first address of the array. The name of the array represents the first address of the array. That means here S1 is nothing but a symbolic representation of the first address of this array. Similarly, S2 is also a symbolic representation of the first address of this array. And obviously these two arrays are different. That means the first address of S1, the first address of S1 will obviously be different from the first address of S2. So if I check whether the first address of S1 is same as the first address of S2 or not, it will evaluate to be false, because since these two arrays are different, their first addresses will also be different. That means S1 will not be equal to S2. So this comparison of checking whether S1 is equal to S2 or not will come out to be false. That means we'll come to the else part and we'll print unequal. So the correct answer in this case will be option B, which is unequal. Okay, now let's move on to the fourth one. And this fourth MCQ, what we have is, we have an array, an integer array. You can understand its type from the data type int. You can understand the type of this array. Its size is 6 and it has been initialized with only 2 values. Now the question is, the size of the array is 6, but I have initialized it only with 2 values. Then what about the remaining 4 locations? We know that for integer arrays, the uninitialized elements will get values of 0. The uninitialized elements. So how many locations do I have here? I have 6 locations. So I have location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now index 0, obviously array indexing always starts from 0, 1, 2. Why do we use indexing? We use indexing to be able to retrieve values from an array. So the indices are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. These are my indices. Now when I'm saying int ARR of 6 equal to 20, so the first value will be stored in the first index. That means 20 goes here. Similarly, the second value will be stored in the second index. So 25 goes here. Now what about the remaining 4 slots? What about the remaining 4 slots? Since I have not given any values for the remaining 4 slots, they will get values of 0 by default, since the array is of type int. Since the array is of type int, by default they'll get values of 0. So what will be the correct answer? See, we have 3 format specifiers, 3 integer format specifiers, %d, %d, %d. Now, and against them we have 3 array elements. So against the first %d, we'll have ARR of 2. So this is my array, ARR. So against the first %d, we'll have ARR of 2. So ARR of 2 is 0. So 0 will be printed first. So first I'll get 0. Now against the second %d, I have ARR of 3. So what is ARR of 3? ARR of 3 is also 0. So another 0 will be printed. And what about the third %d? Against the third %d, we have ARR of 4. So ARR of 4 is also 0. So I'll get 0, 0, 0. So the correct option is option C, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so that was the fourth one. Now let's solve another MCQ. Let's solve the fifth one. See, now this is a theoretical question. Okay, so if an array is used as a function argument, the array is passed by value. Now we have been given 4 options. By option A, by value, by reference, call by name, and array cannot be used as function argument. See, let's try to understand one thing. Firstly, we can pass an array as a function argument. So that will automatically eliminate option number D. Remember, an array consists of multiple variables. An array is made up of a number of variables placed at one location, placed together rather. So since multiple variables are present in an array, and if I want to pass an array, then I cannot pass it by value. Why? Because if I have to pass an array by value, then I have to pass each of the variables which are making up my array. Now that becomes very inconvenient. Instead, if I pass the first address of the array, which is also called the base address, the base address is also known by the name of first address, right? So the first address, if I pass the first address of the array as a function argument, then what will happen? Then the entire array will be available to the function. Obviously, if it knows the first address, then it will know all the elements which are present in the array, because starting from the first address, it can access the remaining elements by accessing the elements in increasing size. That means, let's say, I want to dwell upon this point a bit. Let's say I have an array by the name of A, and this array is of size 3. So it has 3 indices 0, 1, 2, and let's say the values are 3, 6, 7. Now this array, what is this array? This array is a collection. This array is a collection of 3 variables, 3 integer variables. Now obviously a variable, since it's a named memory location, every variable will also have a memory address associated with it. So let me assume that the first address is 1000, the next address is 1002, and the third address is 1004. Why is it increasing in terms of 2? Because I'm assuming that size of int, the size of int is 2 bytes. I'm assuming size of int to be 2 bytes. Okay. Since I'm assuming size of int to be 2 bytes, this variable 3, this integer variable 3 will occupy 2 memory locations. Similarly, this integer variable will occupy 2 memory locations. This will also occupy 2 memory locations. Now, if I pass this array by reference, that means if I pass the starting address of the array, which is 1000, then what will happen? The receiving function, on receiving the first address, will be able to access the remaining elements. Why? Because it knows that the size of int is 2 bytes. So it has the first address, which is 1000. Now, in order to get the next element, what it will do? It will increase its count by 2. So it goes into the memory location 1002. Now, in order to access the third element, again it will increase its count by the size of int, which happens to be 2 bytes. So it will go to 1004 and will be able to access this element. This is the reason why we pass an array by reference. That means we pass the first address or the base address of the array to the function to enable the function to access all the elements of the array. Because remember, if the base address or the first address of the array is known to me, I can access all the elements of the array by traversing the array one by one, by increasing order of the size of each element. So if I have an integer array and I have the first address of the array, then I can access the remaining elements by increasing my count each time by the size of int. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, do not forget to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you.